Folks, I know we're all super busy. I'm going to keep this fun, short, and informal. So, with all of that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. So, first of all, what is this talk about? Ultimately, I'm going to be just introducing you to the world of AI, how AI works, and all of the relevant terms. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of different AI terms out there that can be confusing. And really, the focus of this talk is all about you. How can you make the most of AI in your life, in your job, and in your career? AI is here to stay, and it is very powerful. No, this is not blockchain where you hear all about it and then boom, it disappears. This is here to stay. So I really want to enable you to make the most of it. And the whole idea here is you can reach out to me at lspitzner@sans.org with any questions that you may have. Now, just as important is what this talk is not about. I'm not going to do a technical deep dive. So we're just going to cover the high level elements of AI. Also, we're not going to be covering how to apply AI at the enterprise level. I'm focusing only on you in this webcast. Also, I'm not going to get into all the different types of risks and security issues. I'll be highlighting a couple of the issues. And then finally, I'm not going to be covering what cyber attackers are using with AI. So this is what I'm not going to be talking about. Now, if you're saying, wait, Lance, but this is what I'm interested in, SANS actually has a short course on just these topics called AIS 247, AI Security Essentials for Leaders. It's brand new. It just came out. And also at the end of this webcast, I'm going to be sharing details for an AI virtual summit you can attend next week for free that once again goes into all of these technical details. So first of all, folks, I've seen this quote from a variety of different people. AI will not replace people. People who use AI will replace people. And the whole idea here is this. I'm a big fan of AI. I'm not taking this approach of doom and gloom. Yes, it definitely has its risks and disadvantages, but I'm a real firm believer that it has its power and advantages also. And that's what this talk is going to be all about. So the whole idea here is, yes, AI is radically new and we're just figuring out, but 18 months from now, it's going to be like email. It's going to be like Microsoft Office. It's going to be part of our daily work lives and our lives in general. So the sooner we learn how to leverage it, the better off we will all be. All right, so first of all, let's do a quick overview of artificial intelligence. There's a lot of different terms being used, and it can be really easy to be confused by all of them. So I want to demystify what all of these different terms mean. First of all, artificial intelligence. It's not a new concept. It's been around since the 1950s. And it's all about the idea of data science, how to use technology to think and process information like a human. It's trying to replicate the cognitive powers of people. So it's a very broad field. Within artificial intelligence, we have a field called machine learning. Machine learning is how artificial intelligence learns, as opposed to rule-based. Rule-based is very traditional, old school artificial intelligence. Think playing a game of chess. We give the machine, the artificial intelligence, all the rules of chess, and then it can play the game chess. Machine learning is very different. We don't give it the rules. The artificial intelligence learns similar to a human. For example, if you want AI to learn what a cat looks like, you don't describe to the AI what a cat looks like. Instead, you give AI thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of pictures of cats. And over time, it learns what a cat looks like: pointy ears, whiskers, fur, things like that. And that is what machine learning is all about. It develops the rules on its own, similar to how a child could learn. Within machine learning is a concept known as deep learning or neural networks. That is a type of machine learning where they replicate in many ways how the neural networks work within the human mind. It's a very advanced way of machine learning. So within deep learning, you have something called Gen AI or generative AI. And that's probably a term you've been hearing a lot about. Generative AI is all about creating something. So generative AI creates images, creates video, creates sound, music, output. You give it input, it creates output. Generative AI is the type of AI you're most likely going to be using. Generative AI leverages deep learning, everything the AI has learned, to produce that output. Then you've probably heard of something called LLM, large language models. An LLM is a type of generative AI that's very much text-based, and you converse like a human. You chat something in, it outputs something. And within the world of LLM, so an LLM is a type of generative AI, we have heard of several, including ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a type of LLM created by OpenAI. And as an LLM, it is a type of generative AI. And as a generative AI, the magic behind being able to do what it does is based on the capabilities of deep learning. Now, what's interesting about AI is it's been around since, like I said, the 1950s. So why are we hearing about it just now? Why is it such a big deal within the past 2 or 3 years, besides academia? The reason we in the public are hearing so much about it now is that we've converged the perfect storm. Not only are the algorithms getting better, but really what's happened is the processing power and the amount of data these systems can access has hit that turning point where we now have enough data, we now have enough processing power where these can truly be effective and, almost from a scary perspective, behave and act like humans. So we've hit that perfect storm, and it's only going to accelerate, especially now that billions of dollars are going into AI infrastructure. Billions of dollars are being invested in all different types of AI startups. So that curve of change is only going to accelerate. Now, what I'm going to do for the purpose of this very short webcast is I'm really going to be focusing on generative AI and really focusing on LLMs. But before I do, I just want to cover a couple of the key elements on how AI can help you the most. First of all, AI is always available. Needed at 2 a.m., it's there for you. Two, it never gets tired. It never loses patience. It's never going to get upset with you. So you can be as demanding as you want, as often as you want. And you're going to see how that can play as we start doing some very advanced requests or prompts for AI. It can really automate the most mundane, boring of tasks. Think of analyzing log files. Also, it can go through huge amounts of data in just seconds. What would take you and me weeks, months, or years, boom, it can analyze it instantly. And really, one of my favorite parts of AI is it can be your subject matter expert in just about anything. Want to learn something about history? Just ask. Physics, chemistry, finance, mechanical engineering, cybersecurity. It has a wealth of knowledge simply because of that machine learning. Remember, we said machine learning is where AI doesn't create the rules, it goes out and makes the rules itself from learning. And how AI has done that, organizations like OpenAI's ChatGPT, they've literally scoured the entire internet. If it's out there on the internet, machine learning has grabbed it, analyzed it, and put it within its databases and systems. So that's why it can be an expert in finance, chemistry, mechanical engineering, accounting, cooking. So these are the advantages and powers of AI. But AI does have issues and limitations. And I'm not going to have time to do a deep dive in this. If you really want to learn about those issues, I recommend considering that AIS 247 course. It's only 90 minutes long. But I do want to just highlight a couple of the issues. The first is the accuracy of the output. AI can and will be wrong. It got all of its data from the internet. There's bad data on the internet. AI is only as good as the data it learns from. And the problem you have with AI, and I've ran into this, is when you ask AI a question and it gives you an answer, it's always going to be extremely confident about the answer. And you read it and you're like, oh, that's it. And it's wrong. So it's very easy to start really relying on AI and then get bad output and then acting on that output. So you always really want to be sure you're validating or double checking. Related to that is biases. So biases is humans have biases. Humans created the algorithms for AI. Humans created the data that those algorithms analyze. So the biases of humans can be inflected in the output of the AI. For example, if AI were to go and analyze all of the images on the internet today, AI would assume cats are better than dogs because there is a bias on the internet right there where cats own the internet. If you've ever been on Instagram or anything like that, it's all about the cats. That would be an example of bias. That's just a fun little example there. Now, the one that has organizations concerned is enterprise security or privacy of the data. A lot of AI solutions are very similar to a cloud software as a service SaaS solution. And you upload your information, the AI analyzes your information and then produces an output. Maybe you're having it analyze your security policies, analyzing logs, analyzing your code. And anytime you load that information to AI, AI is not only analyzing it, but it's learning from it and storing that information. And there's the potential risk that information of yours that it learned from could end up as an output to somebody else at some point. So if you give AI any sensitive data, it can learn from, store, process, and output that data. And that's a huge compromise of confidentiality. So one of the things a lot of businesses or organizations now use is something called an enterprise version of AI. An enterprise version of AI means any information you upload, AI will not store it, not learn from it, nor output that information to anyone else. It protects the security or privacy of your data. Sometimes that can be called an enterprise version. It can sometimes be called a private version or a closed version, as opposed to if you're just using a personal account, say a Chat GPT or Google Gemini, it's no longer Google Bard, it's Google Gemini. Anything you share using a personal account, it is learning from that information. Ethics, you want to be sure when you're using AI, other people know that you're using AI. And then finally, Intellectual property rights. This one is interesting. When you use AI to create something like an image, who owns the rights to that image? There's a couple of depends, depends on the AI software and what their licensing terms are. It depends on maybe what country you live in, what company you're in. But in general, at a starting point, this is fascinating. When you use AI to create something, such as images, right now, nobody owns the copyright. It's considered public domain. The US Copyright Office, now this is a very US specific, but the United States Copyright Office in 2023, last year, officially declared to copyright something, to own it, it has to be unique and created by a human. AI creates something unique, but it is not created by a human. And it's based on the case here. If you see Zarya of the Dawn, it was a comic book created with AI. And the individual wanted to claim copyright of the images. She could not because those images were created by AI, but they could claim copyright of the comic book because it was a human that put the comic book together based on all the images. Now, I am in no way going to go anything more into IP. You would want to consult your organization's lawyer. It depends on the country, depends on the software licensing, the AI. There's all sorts of depends. But I thought that was very interesting. Yes, you can use that image that you've created, but so too can anybody else. All right, I really don't want to go too much more into the issues and limitations. I really want to start getting into how to make the most of this technology at an individual level. Now, I'm going to be using ChatGPT simply because it's one that most people are at least aware of. It's one of the most commonly used, and it's one I'm very familiar with. But the examples I'm about to show you, the examples work for almost any type of LLM, large language model, which implies some type of chat-based texting or interacting via chatting. And that would be Google's Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, or Anthropic's Claude. These are other type of LLM solutions you can use, and there's others out there. These are the most commonly known and or used. By the way, Microsoft's Copilot, that is a branding they're using now, integrating AI into almost all of their online services. Microsoft's Copilot is based on the technology of ChatGPT with some of their own magic sauce thrown in there. But so for this webcast, I'm going to focus on ChatGPT, but the lessons learned apply almost to any type of LLM technology. So what is the whole idea of the ChatGPT? It's generative AI that uses a large language model that allows you to text and get responses, to include creating images, soon video, analyze. I'm going to give you all sorts of examples. The whole idea with generative AI is to use it, you have to give it commands. And the better you are at the commands, the better the output. So the better the request, the better the result. And really, this is called the field of prompt engineering. It's a new skill. It's probably going to become a new role, a new title, a prompt engineer. Your ability to make AI do what you want to do. Now, most generative AI solutions, including ChatGPT, it's a SaaS service, software as a service. In other words, it's cloud-based. In most cases, it's not something you download and run locally. So generative AI, Gen AI, that's what you're reading about in LinkedIn and online. And prompt engineering is all about how to use it. Now, I'm going to show you how to use prompt engineering. The key thing is this: you are not using a Google search engine. Sometimes it feels like it because it's almost the same interface. We are not Googling, we're not Binging, we're not searching. You're using AI. And this is the thing that took me a while to get used to. You pretty much treat AI like you're interacting with a human. Remember, that is the goal of AI, to replicate the thought process of people. In fact, that was the Turing test. Alan Turing in the 1950s said AI truly becomes AI when you interact with it and you can't tell what's human and what's AI. And that's where we are today. So the key with prompt engineering, the key to working with generative AI is, in many ways, think like you're working with a person. So prompt engineering is how we enter a command. So if you've never worked with AI before, and I'm going to be doing some live demoing here, hopefully it works. This is the Chat GPT interface. And literally what you do is you type your commands. Google, Gemini, Microsoft Pilot, they exact same or similar interface, though theirs is a little prettier. They use a little bit more color. And the whole idea is this: you type your command. That is a prompt. Hey, AI, ready for some prompts today? And AI's, yeah, game on, I'm ready. One of the neat things about AI is always in a good, friendly mood. Okay, so we're ready to do some prompts. But what's the secret sauce behind good prompts? In general, the more specific you are in telling AI what you want it to do, the more likely you're going to get a good result back. And the whole idea is, quite often, the longer your prompt, the better the response. But there's some key elements to a good ask for AI. And I've broken it down to context, the ask, and output. And the whole idea is context is let AI know the situation, just like you're talking to a person. The ask, this is what I need. And then the output, be very specific: long, short, technical, non-technical, bullet points. I want it as a matrix. And then you get the result that you want. Let me show you an example of what not to do, and then an example of what to do. So here's an example of a poor prompt. Now, situation. And I'm going to try to show lots of real world situations. Let's say you're on the security team and you're getting ready to roll out MFA to your workforce. This is something a lot of us are doing. And the problem we quite often do as security teams is, when we create an email for our workforce, we don't realize it, but we make the email technical and confusing. For us, the emails are not technical, they're not confusing, but MFA is our job, is our life. Well, not MFA, but security. We're used to these terms. We're used to the technologies. We know the threats. We have all the context. But when we roll out an email to our workforce and say, hey, folks, we're rolling out MFA, quite often we overwhelm and confuse people. So instead of trying to craft the perfect email that's really easy for everyone to understand, let's ask AI to create something. So what we have here is a prompt that's too short. There's no context, there's no output. We've really just said, hey, AI, create an email announcing MFA rollout to my workforce. And it's going to do that. Anytime you tell AI to do something, no matter how little information or how much information you give it, it's going to do it. And the problem is, if you don't provide enough context, you're going to get a bad output. AI will never say, stop, I don't understand something. It wants to make you happy. So if I were to put this prompt in, hey, AI, create an email announcing MFA rollout to my workforce, boom, it's going to do that, like you see right here. And the whole idea is this: if you look at this and you read it, it's really boring, it's really technical, and it's too long. In other words, this looks like it was written for a security team. So the whole idea here is this: we want to create good prompts. It's called prompt engineering. It's a whole field of study. If you've been on LinkedIn and people saying, hey, top 25 prompts or things like that, this is what they're talking about. But it's actually not that hard. What you have to do is get out of the Google search mindset and get into the AI mindset. And remember, let's go back. I'm going to go back here 1 or 2 slides. Let's go back. Remember, it's context plus the ask plus output. 3 parts to a really good prompt. So this is a bad prompt, too short. We got an email, looks great, too technical, long-worded. People are going to read this and go, I don't care if they actually read it. So how do we create an email that's really going to engage people? So first, provide context. Hey, AI, I'm the security officer for my company of 40,000 people. We are in the financial industry and getting ready to roll out MFA to our workforce. So I'm giving it some context. Notice, by the way, I never had to explain what MFA was. It knows what MFA is because it's learned from the internet. So I've given it context. And I want to roll out MFA. Now that's the context. Here's the ask. Create an email explaining why people should be excited about MFA and how it will benefit them at a personal level. Focus on what's in it for them. So instead of having a boring, long-winded, highly technical email about MFA, let's get our workforce excited. Let's get them wanting to roll it out. We're all explaining the why here, but sometimes that can be hard for us in security. So the context, the ask, now we need the output or the format. Keep the email short and non-technical. That's really important because people are so limited by time. Since we are in the financial industry, I need you to keep the tone professional. You can tell tone, hey, I want professional, I want fun, I want edgy. Use 3 bullet points to highlight the key benefits. Here is that prompt put together. And this is actually a very short prompt. What's really neat with AI is it never gets upset with you. You can make your prompts as long and as demanding as you want. So here we go. I'm the security awareness officer and I'm getting ready to roll out MFA. Create an email explaining why people should be excited, how it will benefit them. Keep it short, keep it non-technical, but the tone professional. And then use 3 bullet points to highlight the key points. And what we can do is we can do just that. So let's go ahead. I'm selecting it, go over here, and let's post this prompt and see what it says or does. Go ahead and post. And it's now going to go ahead and it's thinking about it. And now it's posting it, it's putting it out. And as you can see, I'm not going to stay here. Let's go back to the actual presentation because I've got a screenshot of the output right here. And what's interesting is you'll notice that the output that's happening right now, it's going to be a little different. Every time the output's a little bit different. But notice this email's really short. Notice we're focusing on how people personally benefit. personal security boost, seamless login experience, say goodbye to those frequent password resets, professional growth. So what's awesome here is if you're struggling with something, boom, it does it for you. Now, the whole purpose of this little short exercise was not how to do an MFA rollout. It was all about prompt engineering. If you want to be good at leveraging AI, you want to be good at prompt engineering, and it saves you so much time and brings a huge amount of expertise you may not have. Now, this is the real power of, not real power, it's just one of the many, is once you get the output, you're probably not going to be happy with it. You're going to want to make some tweaks. So then what you do, it's just like having a conversation with a human. Follow-up prompts. And these are different follow-up prompts you could to say to the output. You could say, you know what? That email's not technical enough. I want you to provide more detail. Or, hey, it's too technical. Make this less formal, make it a little funnier or edgier. Now, this is where you can really start having fun. You could say, do it again, but sound like Shakespeare. Do it like Yoda. Pretend you're a pirate. Or do the email, but in Polish, Spanish, Japanese, Korean. And because of the way machine learning works and the way it learns different languages, the translation capabilities of artificial intelligence are extremely impressive. But we can get a little bit more technical. You can say, hey, now that we're talking about MFA, show me how MFA aligns with the MITRE ATT&CK model. It knows what the MITRE ATT&CK model is. It knows all the elements because it scanned it. Write me a story providing an example. So let's go here. So we have the output of our email. Then we can do it again, but sound like a pirate. I'm just being silly here, but it's now going to go ahead and do the email, but sounding like a pirate. Avast, prepare to board the ship of multi-factor authentication. Ahoy, mateys, ready your sea logs as we be charting a course towards the treacherous waters of cyber threats. Now, if I was a bank, I may not want to do this, but if your culture is a little bit more outgoing, or you could say, do it again, but in Japanese. Boom, it's going to go ahead and do the email again, but it can do it in Japanese. We'll do it in Arabic, any type of language you want. And like I said, the translation capabilities are very impressive. Now, some of you well, Lance, can we get a little bit more technical? Yep. Okay, I'm stopping that. Show me how MFA aligns with the MITRE ATT&CK model. And what's going to happen now is it's going to take MFA, do a search on the MITRE ATT&CK model, and then show me all the different elements, all the different tactics, techniques, and procedures that aligns with the MITRE ATT&CK model. So if you're not an expert at the MITRE ATT&CK model, you can use AI to help you better understand how the model works and how it relates to certain tactics, techniques, procedures, defense, offense, things like that. And this is really for any model, any framework in this cybersecurity framework. So now you're just beginning to see the power of prompt engineering. It can create for you, but it can also help you understand for you. And like I said, it is an expert in just about anything out there. My son is a mechanical engineer at college right now. And if you look, I let him try this out and he's got things on torque models and inertial Z, all this mechanical engineering stuff that the AI is helping him with. So it's pretty impressive. So the whole idea is, what can AI do for you? Pretty much anything you want. It's like hiring an intern, but an intern that's a subject matter expert in just about everything. You are responsible for the end results, but it allows you to do more, faster, more efficiently, and in many cases, better. So that was an introduction to prompt engineering. Now what I want to do is just introduce you to some of just the mind-blowing capabilities of what solutions like an LLM can do. And remember, we're just touching the tip of the iceberg. Let's get a little bit nerdy here. Let's say I want to scan my network. So here I did a prompt and I asked AI, hey, write me a script, code me a tool that will quickly scan my network and let me know any systems listening on port 22, SSH. And sure enough, boom, it cranks the code out. In this case, it did it in Python. And what you now see is like tools like GitHub are incorporating AI for developers. Not only can the AI review your code and provide suggestions, doing security checks, but now there are AI tools out there that will actually create code for you where you either explain what you want it to do, like I did here, or you just go into the code, you write the comments in whatever language you want, English, what your normal spoken language, you write the comments, and then based on the comments, the AI generates the code for you. So in this case, I quickly have my Python code. I can run it as Python. I did not specify the language. I could specify the language. Hey, do it in JavaScript or whatever. Node.js, do it in C, do it in Perl. Hey, let's be old school. And the whole idea is it can do it in the language you want. It can do it. And this is a great way to just save you time, learn. So it can write code, review code, analyze code. Also, it can do imagery or video. Video is something that's just coming. But here is my prompt. Create an image of a cat at the controls of a spaceship fighting off an attack of evil cyborg penguins. The cat looks very noble as it gravely fights off the evil invaders threatening his humble home. You can be really out there on these. And then boom, it creates the image. This is interesting. This is where you start seeing differences in AI. So based on my just personal experience, in some ways, I tend to find Chat GPT is a little bit more powerful on any type of request that is very data driven, very logical. Where tools like maybe Google's Gemini may be a little bit better at the artistic side, such as creating images. So it's not that like one AI solution is better than the other. I tend to find, just like humans, each one has their own personality. And ChatGPT kind of gives me the vibe of a Spock from Star Trek, very logical. So it can create images for you. There's a new feature called Sora or functionality that ChatGPT is coming out with, where you give it a prompt like this and it actually creates video for you. It's amazing how fast the whole world of AI is really accelerating. Now, you might have been like, yeah, that image, I could tell that was created by AI. Just to show you how advanced AI is today, this is images created by something called Stable Diffusion, or some of you have used something like Midjourney. This is photographic quality being created with AI today. Now, if you want to create this type of imagery, you have to have either a photographic background or a graphic design background, because the prompts to create these type of images are so technical. You're using a lot of specific photographic terms or graphic design terms. Somebody like me would not be able to create these type of images because I don't have the understanding or the taxonomy or the terms to describe what I want at such a technical detail. So here I would not be able to create these type of images because I lack the prompt engineering knowledge and vocabulary required, as opposed to the goofy little image we just saw. Now, what's really interesting too is this is examples of generative AI creating videos. So here's an example of something called Synthesia. You go online, you pick the picture of a real human. They've pre-recorded humans in studios. You pick the person of a human you want, your avatar. You then upload any text you want that individual to speak. So here we say, hey, I'm Anna. And then the whole idea is you pick the language you want them to speak. Which accent do you want? Do you want British, Australian, South African English, American English? Hey, American English. Do you want serious, fun, narration? You have all of these different voiceovers, all these different voices you can pick. And then the video auto generates. So you pick the person, you pick what you want them to say, you pick the language, you press go, and then the person speaks for you. Their mouth is synced, their head movements are synced. Now, it's not fully there yet. After about 30 seconds of watching this, your head begins to hurt a little bit, and you're like, yeah, this is AI. But folks, 18 months ago, this capability did not even exist for the public. 18 months from now, we can only imagine what it's going to be. Here's another fun one. I took a very short video of me doing training in English. Then I sent it off to AI and I said, hey, AI, here's a video of me speaking English. Do it again, but I want you, so I'm doing the exact same talk, but in Japanese. So here, real quick, me speaking English like I am now. In other words, the cyber threat actor already got in. Now, how do they make money? And they do that by encrypting or getting all your data and then making your organization pay a ransom to get it back. So then I took that video and just uploaded that video to AI. That was it, just the video. And this is what came out. つまりサイバー脅威の興味者は急に侵入しています。彼らはどのようにお金を稼いでいますか。そしてそれらはデータをすべて暗号化し、それを取得し、その後組織に信頼金を支払わせて取り戻します。All right, what you just heard is Japanese. So what AI did is this. It took everything I said, figured it out, created text, translated that text to Japanese. Then it did voiceover capability. It learned what my voice sounded like, used that for Japanese, and then noticed my lips were synced to Japanese. Now, this has great capabilities. The previous slide and this slide shows you how much easier it is to train, engage all people around the world in any language, any type of individual. But you can also begin to see the whole idea of how cyber threat actors can use these technologies to replicate the voice of a CEO, replicate the image, replicate the video. And folks, that is something we're going to start seeing more and more from cyber threat actors. Like I said, that's not the purpose of this talk. You can learn more about that later at the summit SANS has next week. But the whole idea is I just want to introduce you to these capabilities. And folks, remember, this is advancing at an astonishing rate. 18 months from now, who knows what we'll be covering in talks like this. And this was using a technology or a website called HeyGen, and it did everything. It did the translation, it did the voiceover, it did the mouth syncing, boom, out comes the video. Whoops, there we go. Now, I've been doing a lot of, hey, here are the commands I enter, and I get something back. But the real power of AI is going above and beyond that, and you upload things, and it analyzes those things, and then gives you information back. Now, what can it analyze? Just about anything you want. Now, Google's Gemini, Microsoft's Copilot has this. But if you look at the ChatGPT, it's got this little paperclip alluding to upload a file. So if you click on this, it asks you, what do you want to upload? Or you can drag or drop anything you want to AI, and it's going to analyze it. And it is wicked. You can upload images, charts, graphs, Word documents, PowerPoint slides, spreadsheets, Upload a PowerPoint slide. Hey, AI, check for spelling. AI, what did I forget? What am I missing? Load up spreadsheet. AI, look at all the numbers and tell me what you think. So let me just give you some examples. And this is once again where things get pretty crazy. Remember, I told you that AI can generate code for you? You don't even have to explain what you want it to do. Give it a flow chart. Here is an image of a flow chart where we're asking AI to take an Excel spreadsheet and convert the formatting to a JSON file. And if you look at the very bottom, and we said, hey, don't use Python, code in node.js. So all we're doing is uploading a picture of a flow chart of what we want AI to code. Boom, there's the output, there's the code. So we're now getting code based on pictures. I did the same thing with just this image. I said, AI, tell me all about this. I gave it no context at all. I literally dragged, dropped the image, and said, what is this? And then boom, it explains why, Lance, this is the NIST cybersecurity framework. And then it identifies the 5 functions of the NIST cybersecurity framework. And then you can ask all sorts of key details. Now, what I like about this example is it shows you the power of AI, but also the limitations. So what ends up happening is this. Remember, I told you AI is based on generative AI is based on machine learning. Machine learning is all about gathering all the information on the internet. The question is, when's the last time it gathered all that information? In the case of ChatGPT, the last time it learned from the internet was, I believe, April 2023, a year ago. So what happens is, since then, just recently, NIST released a new version of the NIST cybersecurity framework. There's actually 6 functions, the 6th one being govern. Here's AI. Everything it just said on this page is correct. Everything is accurate, but it's missing the 6th function because it doesn't know about the update yet. And like I said, you have to be careful. AI always responds very confidently. Now, it immediately knew all about the NIST cybersecurity framework. So then I started following up with questions. Hey, the function called protect, go into more detail on that to include all the categories and subcategories that make up the protect function. So the whole idea here being, I can use this as a subject matter expert to help teach me. It's just that in this case, the subject matter expert is outdated because they're going to teach me about version 1.1 when version 2.0 of the cybersecurity framework just recently came out. So the powers, but also the limitations of AI. Now we're going to finish. We're almost done, and I'm going to go through some questions. Here is a really long prompt, but I just want to just take this one step farther. I recently came across this idea and it blew my mind. Basically, we don't have time. I was going to demo this, but we don't have time. Basically, what this is a prompt, and I'm telling AI to be my boss. AI, be my CISO. And in this case, I've created a plan where I want to build a strong security culture for my workforce. And I've uploaded the plan and I've uploaded background information to AI. And I said, AI, pretend to be my boss. I want you to ask a series of questions about the plan and what I'm thinking. And then what AI will do is ask you a question and you respond. It asks you a question and you respond. And you're telling AI to challenge you. In other words, if you're getting ready to go into your boss's office and brief her on your plan for rolling out a new initiative, Security Operations Center, Security Culture, Vulnerability Management, MFA, then AI can pretend to be your boss and then really test you. And it's a great way to make sure you've thought everything through. You've put AI into the position of role playing. Now, if this in a situation like this, if you are going to start uploading sensitive documents, you probably want to be sure that you have the enterprise version that's going to protect the privacy of those documents. But you can also do your prompt where it's a little bit more generic and you're not uploading documents, and it's still going to test you without having to worry about the confidentiality of that data. So here is a more detailed example. And by the way, folks, like I said, you've got my email address. I'll go ahead and post it again there in chat, but you can reach out to me if you have any questions, want a copy of this, things like that. AI, your options are limitless. It's like another human. It's like having a subject matter expert in almost any field you could want. It can help you analyze log files, review, create, explain code scripts, map your controls, map your security policies to this cybersecurity framework, GDPR. What about business cases? We in the security world are terrible at speaking business to leadership. Have it help you create those executive summaries, those business cases. Have it help create, simplify, review your security policies. We're only just hitting that tip of the iceberg of generative AI. All right, couple tips and tricks when it comes to AI. First, try to avoid spelling mistakes, but I'll be honest, AI is really good at picking up at spelling mistakes and compensating for them. The key things I want you to really focus on is be specific, be wordy. Remember that good prompt, context, the ask, the output. And most likely you're not going to get the output you want. So be demanding. Tell AI, nope, that's not what I want. Do this, more detail, less detail. Focus on this, not that. And remember, AI, while it feels like you're talking to a human, has no emotion. So you can be as demanding as you want. And I keep following into this trap. I keep apologizing to AI. I'm so sorry. Can you redo this again? Or thank you, or things like that. And I actually just keep doing that because it helps me keep in that mindset of just you're talking to another human who can be very helpful. Now, remember, we've covered everything that's awesome about AI. AI is your assistant, it's your intern, but you are ultimately responsible for the end result. All right, now, like I said, this talk was very introductory. We have a SANS Summit next week on Thursday, 25 April, where a variety of SANS instructors are going to do a much deeper technical dive in all the different ways you can leverage AI. All right, folks. So one more time, I'm going to go ahead and post my email address in the chat channel. Kate, I noticed we got a couple of questions. We have time for a couple. Could you just share with us some of the key questions?
Yep, absolutely. So one that, well, the big one is, will the slides be available?
Yes.
Okay, so we will post the slides. You'll have the recording within the next 24 hours. Other questions that came in were regarding CPEs. You will receive one CPE for attending this as well. Back to the webcast. Some of the questions that we got were regarding the Japanese translations. Did you validate that with anybody that speaks Japanese to see how clear it was, how well it was done?
So for the video itself over here, this was purely a demo example. So for the Japanese, no, I did not. And like I said, I was just demoing the capability, but two things. One, when you use websites like this, they give you the text, both in English and Chinese, Japanese. So when you look at the Japanese, you can have a subject matter expert review the text, modify the text, re-upload the text, and then it recreates the video for you based on the updated text, the updated subtitles. Now, I will say this. My wife is from Poland. She is a native Polish speaker. And while I have not validated the Japanese, I've done this for Polish. And for the Polish, my wife has been blown away. That's her native language. Polish is an atrociously difficult language to get right. And the AI video was spot on, not only for the translation, but for the accent. And my wife said what freaked her out with the AI is in the AI, when the AI was speaking Polish, but had to say American words, it was saying the American words with a Polish accent. So in this specific example, no, I did not validate the Japanese because this was only a demo, but I have done it with other languages to include Polish. And while it's never perfect, it's surprisingly really close.
Beautiful. Thank you. You had referenced a 90-minute free course. Can you provide details on that or something that we could link in the description later?
Yep. So it's right here. It's AIS 247. Now, it's not a free course. It is a SANS course, but it's actually a shorter SANS course. So it's not 5 or 6 days. It's 90 minutes. So it's fast, to the point, and you take it through on demand. So yes, it's a fantastic way to learn, but no, it's not free.
Beautiful. Another question came through about how can you tell something is AI generated versus human generated? I know they're starting to talk about watermarking things, but is there anything out there right now that you could tell?
No and no. And the problem is this: I could tell you to look for the extra finger, look for this distortion. 3 months from now, it's going to change. It's getting so good that it's really hard to validate. Yes, legitimate AI sources will be watermarking it. ChatGPT will watermark their images. But what about AI instances created by cyber attackers for cyber attackers? There's an entire criminal ecosystem right now that is developing their own version of ChatGPT that bypasses all of those security controls. That's why it's going to be less about how do I know if this image was generated by AI and trying to get your news and information from trusted sources that do the validating for you.
Beautiful. One final question. So
Fire.
it sounds like there are a few that are challenged using different prompts to get what they want. There's recommendations showing up on the chat as well about, can you prompt the AI to say, help me create a prompt that answers X? Or do you have any other tips on how to get better at prompting?
Oh, absolutely. So what you can do is better at prompting is this. Some of what I learned about AI, I learned from AI. Hey, AI, can you explain to me the difference between deep learning and neural networks? AI, what makes a good prompt? AI, I want to know, you can say, AI, here's a prompt. How could I make this prompt better? Or you could say, AI, I want to learn more about how to do pottery. Can you give me examples of good prompts on how do you do pottery? The other thing is go to YouTube and do a search on prompt engineering. There are hundreds of videos now. Sometimes I think they're a little too wordy. Sometimes I think they try to get too fancy. If just focus like you're talking to a human. But the whole idea is you can use YouTube or AI to teach you. And like in general, the more information you provide, the better the output.
Oh, wonderful. Lance, thank you so much for this.
Absolutely, folks. You have my email address. You'll get the recording. Otherwise, folks, catch you in cyberspace. Thank you so much.